Welcome to Informed Tourist, where we go beyond the guidebooks and postcards to uncover the real stories behind America's most talked about places. I'm Curtis, your traveling guru, and today we're taking a journey into the heart of some of the least diverse, yet most fascinating corners of the United States. Did you know that in certain American states more than 93% of residents identify as white? That's a statistic that surprises many, especially in a country known for its melting pot of cultures and backgrounds. Picture Vermont's rolling green hills at dawn or Maine's dramatic wave-battered coastlines. These are places that seem to promise peace, quiet, and a slower pace of life. The states of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, West Virginia, and Iowa are often labeled as America's whitest states, a title that's both simple and misleading. But behind that label lies a tapestry of stories, of history, migration, and change that rarely make the headlines. Beyond the postcard-perfect images, these states face deep-rooted challenges that are often invisible to outsiders. Economic decline, population loss, and the struggle to adapt to a changing world are just a few of the realities here. We're here to look past the surface, to listen to the voices of people who call these places home, and to understand what daily life is really like in these close-knit communities. We'll uncover stories of economic struggle, cultural isolation, and a search for new identity, stories that reveal both hardship and hope. Generations have grown up here, shaped by the land and the traditions passed down through families. But as industries close and young people move away, the sense of community is tested like never before. These states are grappling with their past while trying to build a more inclusive future, opening their doors to newcomers and new ideas. The perception is often frozen in time, quaint villages, cozy winters, and a slower, simpler way of life. But beneath the surface, change is stirring. There's truth in that image, but it's only part of the story. For every postcard-perfect scene, there's another side, one of struggle, resilience, and transformation. These states aren't immune to the problems facing the rest of the country. The opioid crisis, job losses, and the challenges of rural healthcare are all part of the landscape. Economic shifts have left many behind, forcing communities to reinvent themselves or risk fading away. Battles with addiction and despair are real, but so are the efforts to heal and rebuild, led by neighbors who refuse to give up on their towns. So what happens when the picture-perfect image no longer matches reality? How do people adapt, and what does the future hold? We'll meet people who've stayed for generations, holding on to tradition, and newcomers, immigrants, young families, entrepreneurs, who are bringing fresh perspectives and new energy. This isn't just about demographics or census numbers, it's about the American experience in all its complexity, and how it's evolving in places you might not expect. Let's peel back the layers, listen to the stories, and find the humanity that connects us all, no matter where we live. Are you ready to see what lies beyond the postcard? Let's begin our journey into America's whitest states and discover the real heart of these communities together. When you think of New Hampshire or Iowa, do you picture a place where everyone looks and thinks the same? Media and tourism campaigns reinforce this stereotype of homogeneity. Safe, predictable, maybe even boring. But stereotypes flatten complex realities into one-dimensional cartoons. Yes, these states are statistically less diverse, but that's not the whole story. The whitest states label can feel like a box for residents and a barrier for outsiders. It masks real issues, economic and social pressures that have nothing to do with diversity. Take rural Maine. A friend moved there expecting simplicity, but found a town grappling with economic anxiety and a vibrant mix of artists and entrepreneurs. The reality is a complex blend of tradition, struggle, and innovation. These states are not monolithic, they're collections of individuals, each with their own story. Whiteness is just a starting point for conversation, not the end point. As we move forward, we'll challenge these stereotypes and look for the nuanced truth. What stereotypes have you held about a place only to have them overturned? Let's dig deeper. Imagine living in an echo chamber where the world outside your window rarely changes, and the rhythm of daily life is as predictable as the seasons. The same faces greet you at the grocery store, the same stories are told at the local diner, and the same traditions are celebrated year after year. In this world, your own thoughts and opinions are the only ones you ever hear, echoed back to you by those who share your background, your history, and your worldview. There's comfort in the familiar, but also a quiet sense of limitation. For some in America's whitest states, this is reality, a landscape shaped by generations of sameness, where diversity is more an idea than a lived experience. A lack of diversity can lead to cultural monotony, same holidays, same foods, same viewpoints. The calendar is marked by familiar celebrations, the menus rarely change, and conversations often circle back to the same local concerns. It's not always intentional, just the result of generations of homogeneity. Families have lived here for decades, sometimes centuries, passing down traditions and values that have become the fabric of the community. This echo chamber can foster a strong sense of belonging and community, but it can also lead to stagnation, a place where new ideas struggle to take root and innovation is slow to arrive. Young people especially may feel stifled. They see the world's diversity online, cultures, cuisines, music, and perspectives that are missing from their own lives. The contrast can be stark, and the longing for something different grows stronger with every scroll. This can create a powerful urge to leave for bigger, more dynamic worlds, places where difference is celebrated, and where the possibilities seem endless. The pull of the city, with its promise of variety and excitement, is hard to resist. The monotony isn't about a lack of things to do, but a lack of different things to do. The same shops, the same events, the same routines. Over time, it can feel like life is playing on a loop. In a small West Virginia town, every restaurant served comfort food. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, meatloaf, delicious. But after a while, the craving for something new becomes impossible to ignore. After a few days, I found myself searching for a taste of something different. Thai, Ethiopian, even just a fresh take on an old favorite. The options simply weren't there. A local teen confided, "I love my town, but sometimes I feel like I'm living in black and white. The world outside seems vibrant and full of color, while home can feel muted by comparison. When newcomers arrive, they can feel intensely visible and isolated. Every move is noticed, every difference stands out, and blending in can feel impossible. They may be welcomed with a smile, but always as the person from away. The label lingers, a subtle reminder of their outsider status. The burden of representation falls heavily on them. They become the face of difference, expected to explain, to adapt, and sometimes to justify their presence. This is the hidden price of homogeneity, not just what's there, but what's missing. The absence of new voices, new flavors, and new perspectives leaves a quiet emptiness that's hard to name. Cultural variety brings richness and dynamism. It sparks creativity, fosters empathy, and makes communities more resilient and interesting. How important is cultural variety in your own community? What would your life look like without it? Would you feel the loss, or would you find comfort in the familiar? What do you think is lost without it? Let's keep exploring the hidden costs and unexpected gifts of cultural sameness and difference. What happens when a town's main source of jobs disappears? What does it really mean when the heartbeat of a community, the mill, the mine, the factory, suddenly goes silent? For many, it's not just about losing a paycheck. It's about losing a way of life, a sense of belonging, and the daily rhythms that once defined a place. In rural Maine, West Virginia, and Iowa, this is reality. These are places where the landscape is dotted with memories of what once was, and where the future feels uncertain. The ghosts of old industries haunt these landscapes, abandoned factories, empty storefronts. The buildings stand as silent witnesses to a time when the streets bustled with workers and families. For generations, communities were built around a single industry, a mill, a mine, a factory. These places weren't just sources of income, they were the backbone of local identity, the reason families put down roots and stayed for decades. When those jobs vanished, so did a sense of purpose and identity. The loss rippled through every part of town life, from the schools to the corner stores, leaving a void that's hard to fill. The American dream felt like a broken promise. Hopes for a better future faded, replaced by uncertainty and worry about what comes next. As jobs disappeared, young people left, leaving behind an aging population and shrinking tax base. Schools closed, and the energy that once filled the streets slowly drained away. Small businesses struggled, and town centers became collections of empty buildings. The local hardware store, the bakery, the barbershop, places that once brought people together, now stand empty, their windows gathering dust. A friend from Iowa told me his hometown feels like a shadow of its former self. He remembers parades, festivals, and Friday night football games. Now those memories feel distant, almost like they belong to someone else. The movie theater is closed, the diner is gone. The places where people gathered to share stories and laughter have disappeared, leaving only silence. This is the quiet struggle playing out across these states. It's not always dramatic, but it's deeply felt. A slow erosion of community spirit. It's a story of economic hardship, often invisible to outsiders. From above, the towns look peaceful, but up close, the pain is real and persistent. Proud people feel left behind by a country that seems to have forgotten them. They remember when their work mattered, when their towns were thriving, and they wonder if those days will ever return. They're not just statistics, they're families and communities trying to hold on. Every empty storefront and neglected home tells a story of resilience and hope, even in the face of loss. This is the context in which other problems, like the opioid crisis, have taken root. When opportunity dries up, despair can creep in, and communities are left to pick up the pieces. Have you seen a town hollowed out by economic change? Have you walked those quiet streets and felt the weight of what's been lost? What did it feel like? For those who remain, every day is a reminder of what was, and a question of what could be, if given the chance to rebuild. Why has the opioid crisis hit states like West Virginia and New Hampshire so hard? It's tragically tied to economic decline. Prescription opioids began as treatment for injuries, but soon numbed emotional pain from lost hope. West Virginia has the nation's highest overdose death rate. New Hampshire isn't far behind. This public health emergency has touched nearly every family, overwhelming hospitals and social services. Behind the statistics are human stories. Parents losing children, children raised by grandparents, communities caught in a cycle of addiction. A New Hampshire paramedic told me, "We're not just fighting a drug, we're fighting poverty, a lack of jobs, and a total loss of hope." The crisis is a shadow hidden from tourists, but ever-present for locals. It's a reminder that no community is immune to deep-seated problems. How can a community begin to heal from so much trauma and loss? If you were young in a small town with few opportunities, would you stay or go? This is the dilemma in Vermont, Maine, and Iowa. For decades, these states have faced a youth exodus. The brightest leave for cities in search of jobs and culture. This leaves behind an aging population and a shrinking workforce. Who will take over the family farm or local business? Who will lead the next generation? Older generations mourn the empty chairs at the table and quiet streets. A high school counselor in Iowa said, "I help our kids succeed, but that often means helping them leave." Communities raise children only to lose them to the lure of the city. This isn't just about demographics, it's about the future. The challenge is to create opportunities and a vibrant culture that make young people want to stay. Can these communities reinvent themselves in time to stop the exodus? Just when it seems these communities are fading, something unexpected happens. New people are moving in: remote workers, young families, immigrants, and refugees. They're not just passing through, they're putting down roots. In Lewiston, Maine, Somali immigrants have revitalized downtown, opening shops and bringing new energy. In Storm Lake, Iowa, immigrants have transformed the town into a multicultural hub. The arrival of newcomers can create tension, but over time, people interact and become neighbors. Children bridge gaps in the schoolyard, and the community slowly adapts. These newcomers challenge the cultural monotony and bring new dynamism. They prove these states don't have to be defined by their past. The arrival of new populations is a turning point. What role do you think newcomers play in revitalizing a community? Change is happening, sometimes quietly, but always persistently. Let's see how communities are reinventing themselves. How does a community reinvent itself after the old economy dies? The answer: resilience and creativity. People are creating new jobs based on their unique strengths: natural beauty, agriculture, and community. Small-scale, sustainable agriculture is on the rise, with young farmers producing organic foods for local markets. Breweries, wineries, and distilleries are popping up, becoming new gathering spots. Tourism is evolving. Eco-tourism, farm stays, and cultural tours are growing. Remote work is a game-changer, bringing new residents and investment. States like Vermont offer incentives to attract remote workers, bridging the rural past and digital future. This reinvention is gradual, but it's happening. It's about combining strong community ties with new technologies and ideas. People aren't just surviving, they're building something better. They're crafting a new identity based on diversity and resilience. What creative ways have you seen communities reinvent themselves? The story of hope is just beginning. Have we looked past the postcard? The reality of America's whitest states is far more nuanced than the stereotype. These aren't just places of decline, they're places of resilience, innovation, and emerging diversity. The hope lies in the people. The Somali entrepreneur in Lewiston, the young farmer in Vermont, the paramedic fighting the opioid crisis. They're writing the next chapter, refusing to be defined by statistics. The journey of these states mirrors America's own, grappling with change, confronting problems, and learning to embrace diversity. No community is static. All are evolving. The future isn't written, but there's a sense of possibility in the air. The key is to look beyond the surface and see the humanity. These communities are flawed, but full of people trying to build a better future. Even in the quietest corners, the American experiment continues. What gives you hope for small-town America? We began with a demographic fact. Some states are overwhelmingly white, but the real story is about change, not just whiteness. The challenges, job loss, addiction, brain drain, are American challenges, not unique to these states. Their struggles and successes offer lessons for all of us. By focusing only on demographics, we miss the deeper, universal human story. These states are a laboratory for the future of rural America. They're learning how to build new economies and become more inclusive. The next time you see a postcard-perfect Vermont village, think about the real people who live there. See them as fellow Americans, not a monolith. This is a call to look past labels and see our shared humanity. Thank you for joining me on this journey. What are your experiences with small-town America? Share your stories below. Thank you for watching Informed Tourist. Now please like and subscribe. I genuinely want this channel to reach 1,000 subscribers. Please help me achieve that goal. Thank you again. Now please check this video out. Travel safe.